Happy birthday, Army.
Welcome back to American Warrior Radio. I'm so happy you didn't go anywhere because, man, we're just getting cranked up here. We have got a lot of good stuff to bring to you, and I'm going to go through a list of stuff, but Glenn made a great point. Glenn, what is it you wanted to mention about VA Rep?
Yeah, we're talking about that VA Rep and a fine program that it is, and we'll go into more on a later date, but I want, because it has the letters VA in the name, I want you to know this is not part of the VA. This is not a VA program. It's helping people use their VA benefit, but it's not part of the VA. So don't we want to make sure that's clear.
Exactly. So anytime you see something out there, especially if you get an email or something that says VA this or VA that, be careful.
Be very careful.
Yeah, if it has an attachment, because the VA is not going to communicate to you via email. I can guarantee you that.
Absolutely not.
And whenever you see VA in the initials of a group or something, just be mindful of that. And look, VA Rep, Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals, is a 501c3. That means they're a full-fledged nonprofit doing some good work, and we're just getting cranked up with that, and we'll have a lot more to come. But it's a good point. Just because it has VA in the title does not mean it's sanctioned or sponsored by the government.
You're right. That's used all over the place, and you got to be real careful. That doesn't mean it's legitimate and been blessed by the VA or the government or anything like that. So, but I see you got some important announcements over there, Garen. Get rolling there, buddy.
I really do, and it's going to take me a minute, but bear with me, folks, because this is how AVET Project operates. We must have the support of the community, individuals, companies, corporations, whatever, and we could not do it without them. I want to throw out a couple honorable mentions for their wonderful support regarding our fashion show that you heard Commander B. Perry speak about. His own daughter was in it. And also the 9/20th Family Day. For the fashion show, as B. Perry mentioned, West Marine was a great supporter. Celebrating Home, Leslie Kleinhentz, her website. Check this out, please, because she's a wonderful woman, a proud supporter of AVET Project. lk.mycelebratinghome.com. This information will be up on AVET Project's Facebook page and American Warrior Radio's lk.mycelebratinghome.com. Leslie is a phenomenal person with some incredible products, and we couldn't have done it without Sonia from Moncherie Med Spa right there in the city of Cocoa. Just a wonderful woman. And guess what, Glenn? She's a veteran herself, a Navy vet.
Absolutely, and well, good for her. That makes her a veteran business owner.
That's right, and so we want to support those that support us helping the troops. So check out Moncherie Med Spa. Sonia, thanks for all your support. And Melissa Dominguez, you were just amazing through all of it. Rue 21, Echo, these are fashion labels that helped us put it on. Rue 21, so you might want to do some shopping there. Echo, Buzz, Coco V, Cache, and of course we couldn't thank Monday's Mona Lisa enough for all the entertainment they provided at so many different shows. And also Terralyn Ramsey and her beautiful voice that she shared with us at the fashion show. It was a real blast, but you definitely check those out. Switching gears for a moment, on that same day, last Saturday, a week ago, AVET Project also assisted in hosting the 9/20th Rescue Wings Family Day.
That was a big deal, and by big, I mean, wow,
yeah.
lots of attendees.
Exactly.
Did a wonderful job.
Yeah, about 1,500 people, folks. This is all the reservists and their family members and some of the employers that, you know, give special dispensation to the reserves so they can actually do their duty time and what have you. And I got to get some special shout-outs on that as well. The Sharing Center here in Brevard really helped out AVET Project pull this off, and Tom Drunkenmiller and his staff are just, Yolanda, you're just wonderful people. Thank you so much, the Sharing Center. Vitas really stepped up at the last minute, and we are so appreciative of Vitas, who've been a long supporter of AVET Project as well. And of course, none of this would have happened without some good media, and we couldn't have done it without Channel 13's Greg Pallone, so hats off to you, sir, and all your staff. And they even came in and did filming a portion of the fashion show, Glenn. It was pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you, Channel 13. I know I heard some ads about needing help at the last minute for that, and that goes a long ways toward getting that.
Exactly. And of course, there's always Florida Today and our beloved Norm Moody with the wonderful articles and support that he gives us, because that helps us get the word out. So that's just a short list, people. You want to check out more, you go to avetproject.org, the website, and especially the Facebook page. If you're not on Facebook, don't worry about it. Just go to avetproject.org. Lower left corner, click on the Facebook icon, and you can scoot right over there and at least check stuff out. Maybe if you're not a member of Facebook, you can't be interactive, but at least you can see what's going on. We couldn't do any of this, obviously, without the support of our home base right here, broadcast house of WMEL AM 1300.
Absolutely. So they've been supporting us all along, and we're coming at you right now due to their generosity.
That's a fact. Now, one last thing before we get into another matter that we simply have to, we're kind of chomping at the bit to talk about, and I'll have a little musical interlude for you here in just a moment, but I wanted to let you all know that since AVET Project was in Washington, D.C. this week, it's been a really, really busy week. We met with 7 different legislators from Florida. Not all the legislators, some of their staff, their aides. We did get into Congressman Nelson's office. We had an appointment with him. This is regards to the Deployed Troops Support Act. You've heard us talk about it. It passed the House last year and got torn out of the bill when it reached the Senate. This is super important, okay? If you want to see a copy of the press release, go to avetproject.org. I'll just summarize it quickly. It allows AVET Project and other groups like us to help support our deployed troops through care packages and stuff, and we don't have to fund the shipping, which is prohibitive for us.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest costs that the not-for-profits, AVET being the leader among them, have to pay to support our troops. Sometimes the postage is more than what's inside what you're sending.
Especially if the goods and stuff get donated, we just got to come up with a shipping cost.
Right.
So, Deployed Troops Support Act, make some noise, and you can call your Congress, call your senator.
Senators,
yeah. Call your. It's already passed the Congress. The House has passed it. It's over in front of the Senate again, and it was a bipartisan support act. But Senator Bill Nelson, his number, 407. This is why Glenn and I asked you to grab a pen and paper. Please write this down. If you do nothing more next week, please pick up the phone and make a quick phone call and say, Senator, you have to do what you need to do to make sure the Deployed Troops Support Act gets passed. Remember those words, Deployed Troops Support Act. Bill Nelson's number, 407-872-7161. 407-872-7161. Mr. Nelson's office was good enough to set up an appointment for us, and we talked to one of his key staffers. I can't say the same for Marco Rubio, so Glenn, would you share the number for everybody to raise some cane about him not supporting it last year and not even being present to greet us this year?
Absolutely. You can reach Senator Rubio at 407-254-2573. Again, 407-254-2573. We need to be heard by both these senators to support the Deployed Troops Support Act.
That's a fact. It's that simple. And for all your relatives and other folks you know from out of state, have them contact their senators and tell them to vote for the Deployed Troops Support Act. That's all. Those are the words you need to really hit home with, is the Deployed Troops Support Act as it's now in the Senate. Now, everybody knows there's a lot going on. And first of all, one more time, happy birthday, United States Army.
Hoorah!
It is their birthday. And
well, actually, ooh-ah.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh-ah. Now, you've seen it in the news, and we're hopefully going to have somebody on the line here shortly, an OIF vet, to discuss what it means to him personally. But you can't even turn on the television right now without seeing the reversals in what's going on in Iraq, Glenn.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. It makes you feel like, well, what in the heck did we go there anyway for? I mean, we gave up our lives of our, not necessarily young people, because some of the reservists are older troops, warriors serving our country, but gave up lives and so many wounded, and some of those wounds so severe that...
Give them some numbers in Iraq specifically.
Yeah, Iraq alone, which is where the focus of the problem is today, we had 4,400 killed in action and 32,000 wounded. So
let those numbers sink in for a minute.
32,000 wounded and over 4,000 killed.
Now, you've heard of force multiplier and verbiage like that. Think of how many lives and how many families were impacted by these numbers.
And will continue to be impacted for the rest of their lives, those families of the killed in action and those families of the wounded. Some of those wounded require full-time help for the rest of their life.
Exactly. So I want you to think that. I want you to have that on your mind. 32,000 wounded, 4,400 men and women that were serving this country lost their lives in Iraq. We'll talk about what impact that has on the current situation over there. But Vince, our awesome board operator and engineer here on American Warrior Radio, is going to cue up a song that I want y'all to listen to. The man that does our lead-in music, it's called bumper music, I guess, in the trade, Soldier Hard, he's Sergeant Jeff Barillero, has written a song, and I want you to listen to it. The title is I Was KIA. He's an Army sergeant with 3 combat deployments, so he knows of what he sings. Vince, go ahead and play that music, folks. Listen and remember those numbers. 4,400 gave their lives. Thank you, Vince, so much. And folks, I don't know about you, but I got goosebumps and I'm fighting back tears here because it is difficult. That's the kind of troops we got, Glenn.
Exactly, and even with the crud that's going on in Iraq today, I think that the content of this song still applies to every one of those troops that was killed in action. That's the way they feel, and they're up at God's right hand now.
It's a powerful song, and I really encourage everybody out there in American Warrior Radio Land to check out Soldier Heart and his whole team of troops that are putting out music like that, focused solely on soldiering and patriotism. Go to Redcon 1 Music. Just Google it. Redcon 1, R-E-D-C-O-N. I think that's Army talk for Readiness Condition 1, ready to go.
That's my understanding.
So go to Redcon 1 and check out music like that and so much more, because they really do a phenomenal job of expressing the trials and tribulations and tumult that our service members and their families go through. So, you know, did they die in vain, Glenn? We're talking over 4,000 of our troops were killed in Iraq, and now we're watching this crisis. The troops that we stood up over there, the Iraqi soldiers, the Iraqi Defense Force, that we stood up and spent, as you said, so much blood and treasure. We're talking, I don't know, billions upon hundreds of billions of dollars.
I think it was close to $1 trillion, I heard the other day.
Very well could have been. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And was it in vain?
Well, again, back to the content of the song and what I said, I don't believe in my heart that the soldiers who died in vain, because they were doing what they were there to do, and they did it honorably to protect the freedom that we have in this country. Now, it's beyond disappointing that it seems like it didn't accomplish anything for the country of Iraq, and as a result probably will expand the threat to our country, letting the terrorists take over as they are, with the Iraqi army just walking away and saying, here, it's yours. I think before we went on, you talked about hearing that, you know, that probably most of these Iraqi soldiers in the areas that these terrorists have taken over in the past few days are of the same religious base of the terrorists that are taking over these places, and they're saying, well, here the stupid Americans left us tanks and Humvees and all this stuff, so here, it's yours. We don't want them, and we don't want to fight you. You're our brother.
Exactly, and if y'all recall, and I think Kim, our producer, reposted a broadcast of American Warrior Radio when you and I, Glenn, interviewed Major General Jeff Buchanan right during the drawdown.
Right.
He was about ready to close the door on his way out.
Exactly.
And he gave the justification. That was in the October of 2011. We've been on the air a long time. Damn.
Yeah, we have. That's good.
And you can find that interview. You can't find it on WMEL's archives, but you can check it out at avetproject.org and on the Facebook page and watch the whole interview. He made good sense. I mean, we're such a benevolent country, and we're always efforting to help others that need the assistance. And he made some good points. I remember one part of it. He was talking about the air conditioning units. They'd been over there for 8-9 years, and we either spend a whole bunch of money to bring stuff that's pretty much, well, it's old, back to the United States,
yeah,
or leave it there and transfer it to the Iraqis, which is the point you're making,
yeah, that
we left all this military armament and equipment for them to use and to stand them up and to give them an opportunity to where they weren't starting from scratch.
Well, and I'll take his word for it. I believe it too, that it probably is more expensive to ship a lot of that stuff back home than it is to leave it there. But by golly, I think we should have left it there with a hand grenade inside of it as we walked away from it.
If things were different, maybe we would have had a residual force left in place that could at least keep cracking the whip and keep these Iraqi forces focused on protecting everything we'd given them, the gains that they'd made.
Yeah, and I think if what I read is true, the taking of Baghdad is not going to be the same as, not easy like they took over Fallujah and Mosul and some other smaller cities over there. because it's now got to the point of being what it has been in that country for centuries, probably. A civil war between the Shia and the Sunni. And Baghdad is protected by one religion, and the militia is coming from another religion. And
we're not into geopolitics here, but just briefly, for those of you that need a high side pass, as Glenn always says, the Iranians are now walking into Iraq.
Let's take their support.
To support Malachi, who we basically stood up as their president, whatever you want to call him. And they're supporting him, so they're already in bed with the terrorists because the Shia have excluded the Sunnis, which is a greater part of the population in the first place.
Exactly, and what are the motives for Iran to offer to help?
Wouldn't have a guess.
Wouldn't have a guess as to taking over oil and territory and whatever other natural resources are there, and finally taking over Iraq. I mean, don't forget there was a war a long time ago between Iraq and Iran that went on for like years.
Exactly, and the United States has been on both sides of the conflict now,
yes,
people.
We have.
We've supported the Iranians, and then they took our hostages. We've supported the Iraqis, and then look what's happening. It just goes back and forth. It's whichever way the political wind blows. But I will let you know that the wind might be blowing. I'm not sure if there's a breeze or not, but your president is out in California golfing. Let that sink in. Your president's out in California golfing. Did you hear me? He's golfing. We've got a major geopolitical crisis where all of the gains that our brave men and women in uniform have fought to liberate and give the Iraqi people an honest-to-goodness chance getting that sicko Saddam out of the way and standing up an army of their own and supporting them. And then now they're getting overtaken and overrun, and quite honestly, like you said, Glenn, they're abandoning their posts.
Well, yeah, at least that part of the army is. Apparently, the army is almost like two parts anyway. It's the ones that are in the army that are Shia and the ones that are in the army that are Sunni, and it's not one army. It's like two different armies. So
and that
in itself is a huge problem.
Yeah, and their president wasn't able to. We stood up. Their president wasn't able to coalesce those tribes, whatever, those factions into one and let them be Iraqis. Instead, they still have this divide. So you can question the whole reason for getting involved in the first place, but the bottom line is your president is playing golf in California today while all this is happening. All right, just let that sink in for a minute, because I don't know any other president that would allow the Middle East to literally catch fire before our very eyes. And as our producer keeps pointing out to me, did you know our embassy has not been evacuated? There are over 100 military troops right now guarding an embassy in Baghdad that, as we go on the air, and we're coming to a close very quickly, they could be overrun at any moment, Glenn.
Absolutely.
You think Benghazi was bad? This could be, to the 10th power.
But they're not getting any imminent danger pay.
No, don't need any imminent danger pay. Folks, that's just, if it's a hot button issue regarding our military veterans, Glenn and I are going to talk about it. We are. We don't get into politics often, but this is beyond politics. This is just insanity. We really appreciate you listening to American Warrior Radio. And Glenn, as always, we got to tell them about this.
If you're a veteran in crisis or you know one in crisis, to include talking about suicide, dial 1-800-273-8255. 800-273-8255, and veterans should always press 1. And as always, don't forget, thank a vet.